Hello everyone, how's it going? Nice to meet all of you. I guess we'll wait a minute or so to let people trickle in. Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's you know polite of us to give them 2 or 3 minutes to.
Awesome. I guess it'll be good to just see where people are joining in from. I'll request people to just like drop in the chat. We have a live chat, so if you could share where you're joining in from. And we'll keep the chat active throughout the webinar. So if people have questions, feel free to keep posting them and we'll take them during the session. I see Paulina from London, Adrian from London, Stephen, of course, from Vancouver, the Lenskar team from New York. Awesome. I see people trickling in. Let's give it a minute or so. How are you feeling, Stephen?
I'm excited to talk about this. This is I think one of the most important things for us to be talking about at this point in the year.
Absolutely. Such a topical subject we've picked up today. It's a subject we kind of get a lot of inbound questions about. We obviously deal in this space. So yeah, excited to see what you have to share with the audience today. I think we can get started. So hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be chatting about monetizing AI agents. Chatting about pricing and packaging strategies for the next wave of SaaS, which is essentially AI agents. Uh, we'd love to do a quick poll as people join, and if you could kind of talk about what is your role in the organization, that would kind of give us a good flavor of who the audience is and what the mix is, and that'll help us tailor the discussion accordingly. While you folks do that, I'll quickly introduce myself. I am the co-founder and CEO at Zenskar. We are an AI native order to cash platform. We manage billing, recognition of revenue, and reporting for companies with subscription usage and hybrid pricing models. And yeah, I'll let Steven introduce himself as well while we wait for the poll results to come in.
Well, thank you very much, Apurv, and thank you to the whole Zenskar team. Uh, this is been a year since we were on a webinar together, and it's good to it's good to keep the flow going. My name is Stephen Forth. I am the CEO of Ibbaka and valueIQ. Ibbaka is a consulting company that focuses on helping people to understand how they create value for their customers and then how to capture that price in value. I'm sorry, how to capture part of that value in price. So we help with the design of packaging and pricing models, and then how to adapt and evolve pricing as the market and customers and competitors change. I take the approach that pricing is something that you design, and I'm reasonably active in the global design thinking community. And as part of that, I manage the medium-sized 420,000 plus design thinking group on LinkedIn, where we are having a lot of conversations about agents and the impact of agents and AI on the design of applications. So yeah, this is where I live and play.
Awesome. Well, I'm not sure I'd call that community medium sized, Stephen. But yeah, you're being you're being modest. Okay, the audience mix is interesting. We have, about 1/3 of the audience is finance, about 1/5 is product, very few CEOs, and the majority is actually other personas. So if you could use the chat to talk about, your role in the organization, that'd be interesting to see. And yes, this call is being recorded and will be shared later with everyone. But without further ado, I'm going to get started. Uh, so here's what we'll cover. We'll talk about what is an AI agent. I feel like there's like a lot of different definitions floating around. We'll talk about why we need agents and why today, and what options do legacy SaaS vendors have as they want to kind of stay relevant in this world of AI agents, how to kind of make sure you can run your billing smoothly in this agent ecosystem, how to price your agents, what actions you can take, and of course, towards the end, we'll leave the floor open for Q&A. I see the audience has started to share. There's a few people in the room who manage pricing, uh, unsurprisingly so, and also product marketing. Cool. So, Stephen, let's get started. Can you help us define what's an AI agent?
So I think this is becoming a very interesting and contentious question
Mm-hmm.
in the space, because we have been using the term agents and agentic AI for many, many years within the computer science and artificial intelligence communities.
Mm-hmm.
And it means something very specific within the computer science and AI communities that's a little bit different from the way that it's being used in the commercial space. So the definition that I've found useful is that an agent is an autonomous software system that uses artificial intelligence to pursue goals, make decisions, and complete tasks on behalf of users, showing reasoning, planning, and memory as it learns and adapts over time. But what we need to remember here is that autonomy is not all or nothing. And one of the websites that gathers information about agents and the agent economy actually grades agents on how autonomous they are. And most agents in the business world today are not 100% autonomous, and that's fine because this is not a state; it's a road that we are going down.
Mm-hmm.
And many companies are taking their existing functionality and either augmenting it using agents or replacing it using agents.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes they are sticking agents onto their API. So a common term that we're hearing these days is a headless application. So a
Yeah.
head CRM, a headless billing system. If I can take the risk of saying a headless quote to cash system, uh, in which many different agents access that system. And this is all part of what I see really as an agent economy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
People will remember the subscription economy, an idea that was introduced by Zuora. I think we are now shifting away from the subscription economy to an agent economy, in which functionality will be delivered through and orchestrated with many, many agents. And there are, just in a commercial sense, there are probably, no, not probably, there are tens of thousands of agents out there. McKinsey, the consulting firm, claims to have 12,000 different agents. Uh, not Pros, PriceFX, which is one of the big pricing management companies, has over 125 agents and is introducing them at a rate of a couple of a month. So it's, you know, we are experiencing a phase shift in the software economy that is going to change all sorts of things about how we do business, including how we price. But Apurva, how does that accord with your own experience?
I mean, the thing I like to kind of just double click on is, I think the word agent right now is a little overused. Like everybody is where even most SaaS applications are just like kind of calling themselves agents, whether or not they're doing stuff autonomously. So I'm curious, where do you draw the line? Like, what degree of autonomy does an agent need to have for you to truly call it an agent. Because I'm sure if, there's a human in the loop doing 95% of the stuff and the agent is driving 5% automation, I personally would not call that an agent. So like, where do we draw the line and what really is an agent as per that definition?
Yeah, so I think that so there are certainly applications that are light wrapping
Mm-hmm.
on a foundation model like OpenAI's GPT, or Cohere's model or Anthropic's model. And those are agents, um, but they're probably not defensible agents. They're very easily replicated and commoditized. So I don't worry about, I've stopped worrying about this. I got into arguments with people about this 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
I've decided it's not a productive argument. If people want to call what they're doing an agent, let them call it an agent. Uh, I think if you start doing part of what an agent is there's focus to it, right? It supports one use case or a very very narrow range of use cases,
Yeah.
whereas an application often supports multiple use cases.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's part of it. There's an idea of focus here, and I agree with you. There has to be some autonomy. There has to be some reasoning and work being done on the background, even some decision making, possibly some actions being taken, and it's a set of stairs that we need to climb up. But we are moving towards a world in which the agents become more and more autonomous. Uh, and
Fair enough. No, I mean, completely resonate with you. I think the degree of autonomy, in some cases, you actually don't want too much autonomy because I'll give you an example of our use case, right? We are a AI native order to cash platform. We help with billing, recognition of revenue, and reporting. And we have at least five different agents, all operating with different levels of autonomy, depending on how sensitive the task is. Right, when you want to create a journal entry and post it to the ERP, you want it to be extremely accurate because you can't be non-compliant and fail an audit. So over there, the agents have lesser autonomy. Whereas if you want to just have the agent craft an email and send a payment reminder, over there you can have a little more autonomy on what's written in the email because you can't get it that wrong. So I think it's contextual and depends on the agent. And as AI gets better and the models get more accurate, in general, agents will have more and more autonomy. But let's move on to the next session. Like, why is this happening now? What's really changed in the world that all of this shift is really happening today?
yeah, so I think a big part of it is what we've been talking about. Agents are a relatively easy way to layer in and to package AI functionality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are an existing application being rebuilt on top of AI, one of the easiest entry points is to create agents that run on top of your application.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a relatively easy way to introduce AI into your platform. And then if you are a AI native agent first company, it gives you fairly easily defined sets of functionality that are easy for buyers to understand and purchase. So to me, a big part of the popularity is that people were struggling to understand how they integrate and monetize AI, and this has emerged over the last 12 months as one of the most effective ways to do it. Also, agent sort of, as we were just discussing, it sort of implies a degree of autonomous behavior, which
Yeah.
is part of the promise of AI. Now, as you were saying, many of these agents have minimal autonomy,
Yeah.
um, and some of them actually have minimal AI as well. But it helps to capture that promise and give a direction. And I think if we looked at how things like Lovable and Bolt and Replit, all those different vibe coding apps are being used,
Yeah.
many of them are being used to build agents with. Although I suspect that sometime in the next few months, we are going to see another generation of vibe coding apps that take advantage of the agent infrastructure that
Yeah.
the big foundation players are building, and hopefully that also take advantage of design patterns. For those of you who are technical here, the Gang of Four design patterns, and meld these things into a new generation of vibe coding applications. Uh, and people ask me, about how AI is affecting my life and the change. I have to say, I've been involved in tech for pretty much 40 years now. So I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of change. I have seen more change in the last 9 months than in the preceding 40 years.
I
Uh,
could not agree more. I mean, the rate at which this is changing is crazy. And I think a lot of this, in my opinion, a lot of this is just because the technology has finally gotten there. Like, even if you wanted to build agents, 5 years ago, the tech just wasn't there to support it. Whether it is the LLMs or the underlying kind of, infra, the chips and the semiconductors, and all of that has just come together at a place where this is possible today. But I want to actually just take a quick segue here, Stephen, and read the room a little bit on the audience, and do a quick poll. I want to understand, from the audience, where are you today when it comes to your specific organization's approach to agents, and then we'll dive into thinking about pricing for these because the bulk of the audience here is focusing on pricing and pricing strategy. But curious, hey, are we like currently just enhancing our current products with AI agents? Replacing old features with AI-driven solutions? Are we building, brand new offerings with AI agents? Are we not actively adopting AI agents? Say, this is too much hype. I'm not doing this right now, maybe in the future. Or is it like, are we not sure what we are doing? I'm just, that'll help me kind of read the room a little better. So we can then kind of talk about what options we have as legacy SaaS vendors to kind of adapt to this new world of agents. Um, so yeah, I'll maybe give a few more seconds for people to vote. And yeah, then let's talk, Stephen, about as a legacy SaaS vendor, what really are my options, if I want to kind of adapt to this world of agents. Uh, I will let the poll results come out. Okay, this is interesting. So about half the audience is enhancing their current products with AI agents. About one-fourth is building brand new offerings with AI agents. Interesting. Brand new is not easy, and it needs a specific kind of talent. So one-fourth doing that is pretty commendable. And the others are either not actively adopting agents or, just replacing old features with AI-driven agents. So it seems like, at least three-fourths of the room here is actively enhancing current products with AI agents or building brand new offerings, which is great actually. So that opens up perfectly into the segue into the next section of the talk, where let's talk, Stephen, a little bit about as a legacy vendor, as a SaaS vendor, what are the strategic options that I have to be able to adapt to this new world of agents?
yeah. So we at Ibbaka, we have analyzed hundreds of companies' agent strategies to understand how they are approaching this. Uh, Certainly, there are people who are bringing net new functionality to market, which
Okay,
we've captured here with the idea of independent agents. But as you said, that's a non-trivial thing to do.
exactly.
So what we see with legacy vendors, so legacy vendors are bringing net new functionality to market for sure. They're not ignoring the innovation opportunity. But there are three other approaches that they're taking. One is what we call a replacement agent,
Mhm.
where they take a part of their existing functionality. Actually, could we just stay on the preceding slide for a moment? Harper?
Sure.
Where they take their existing functionality and they replace a chunk of it.
Mhm.
Another set of agents are agents that complement uh, the existing functionality. So they're called out and they are priced and packaged independently. or not independently, but they're priced and packaged visibly, but they really complement existing functionality. And the third approach is to actually embed agents deep within existing workflows so that they move existing workflows along and help in the context of existing workflows. And it's important to know what each of your agents is doing because this has a big impact on how you price them. So now we can go on to the next slide.
Fair enough. I'd love to dive a little deeper into these three agents because I personally like, can we get some examples to these? And because then I want to talk about pricing these agents. So if we can have some specific examples to each, like
Yeah,
talk about an independent agent, a replacement agent, a complementing agent, and an embedded agent. That way we can then start talking about how to price these.
yeah. So let's take perhaps the most famous agent in the SaaS space, which I would argue is possibly Intercom's FinAI agent.
Okay.
So, so FinAI, um, if you followed its evolution, is super interesting. So Intercom started FinAI as an AI that would complement customer success representatives.
Mm-hmm.
So it started as a complementing agent. But then they realized that they had something really important here and that was very effective. And they promoted it to being an independent agent. And one of the things that I love when you hear the intercom people tell their story is that every day they focused on the metrics and they clawed and fought and struggled to move up FinAI's metrics. 0.5% a week, 3% a month, so that eventually it got to a point where it was in many cases performing better than humans at the narrow range of tasks that it autonomously took care of. And
Mm-hmm.
they were confident enough that they were willing to price that agent on completion. So on task completion, which in their case meant the resolution.
Tickets, yeah.
So I believe it's 99 cents per resolution. If you looked at their website, say a year ago, FinAI had its own section in the website. So they had their standard packages and standard pricing. Then underneath it, they described FinAI, and you could buy FinAI separately. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at their website, I shouldn't say today, because I didn't look at their website today, and they may have changed it. But the last time I looked at their website, uh, FinAI was bundled inside each of the packages. So you can no longer buy Intercom without getting FinAI. However, they also offer FinAI to use with their competitor systems. So if you are using a competitor to Intercom, you can still use FinAI and pay for it on the performance basis. So this is
So
a
are we, sorry to interrupt. Are we saying that, it used to be an independent agent, but it's now becoming, now it is an embedded agent as well as an independent agent? Is that what you?
well, no, it started as an embedded agent.
Okay.
It evolved into an independent agent, and then it evolved further into a complement in each of the packages, but it also remained as an independent agent. So it went through a really interesting evolution.
So it
And
was embedded earlier on with all of the functionality, and now I can use it independently with some of the other competition as well. That's why it's an independent agent. But it
yeah,
also complements my existing functionality, which is why it's also a complementing agent. But it is not replacing any functionality, which is why it's not a replacement agent.
yeah, it's not um, yeah, that's an interesting question. I'd have to go back and parse that to see if it's actually. I don't think that Intercom has retired any functionality because of FinAI. Once they start retiring functionality, then it becomes a replacement agent. I don't think they've done that yet, but perhaps someone in the chat knows this better than I do and can comment on it.
And you talk about, of course, the pricing for each of these being different. So I'd love to kind of dive into that. Can you more talk a little bit more about the primary, pricing and corresponding billing patterns in this entire agent ecosystem, and especially for these different types of agents, independent, replacement, complementing, embedded. We want in some cases the price to be based on the value or the increased value. In some cases, it's the same price as that of the underlying app. In some cases, it marginally increases based on the additional value being created. So how does that really tie into the billing metric, the primary pricing metric? Because there's so many different ways that you could price this. And we see this with our customers. Our customers use us as their billing engine, and we see, within the same company, there's like 5 different products, each with 5 different pricing models for different customers. Each pricing model having a different billing metric. Sometimes it's cost based, sometimes it's value based. So when I look at these slides, I found it super interesting that 35% are still pricing per user. uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd love to have you talk a little bit about this slide, and like how are people pricing these agents.
Yeah. So just a bit of context here. So this data was harvested using one of Ibbaka's agents. So we have a pricing analysis agent that we use internally.
Mhm.
Uh, we will almost certainly productize it as part of valueIQ before the end of the year. But currently it's an internal agent that's used to support our own work processes. So I took this agent and pointed it at the AI agent store ecosystem
Mhm.
and sampled the AI agent store ecosystem to see how people in that rather large list were pricing their agents. And what we mean here by primary metric, this is the metric that is obvious when you look at their packaging. So they have a pricing page. They have often 2, 3, 4, 5 different packages on the pricing page, and they are explicit about what the pricing metric is.
Hmm.
Now, many of these pricing pages, when you parse them properly, have more than one pricing metric. So what we did is we looked at the primary metric, and then we looked to see if there were additional metrics.
Mhm.
So to my surprise, I have to say, and a little bit to my disappointment, the most common pricing metric for agents today, at least for the agents, for the 800 or so agents that were on the AI agent store ecosystem, per user is still the most common pricing metric.
Which is so surprising. Do you know why that is the case? Like, it's counterintuitive to me.
I think it's because it's what people are used to. And, it's, pricing tends to be a very conservative function. People tend to price the way they've seen other things priced. Uh, Change in how pricing works takes time to percolate through. I think the people that can lead the change in how pricing works will be able to establish an important competitive advantage for themselves. Having said that, though, today, uh, per user pricing is the most common, followed by some form of action pricing. So when the agent completes an action, then you get priced. And intercom is an example of that. Then the third most common is per agent. So you basically, it's like hiring an employee. You hire an agent, and you get the agent to do whatever it can for you. The one that is growing fastest is credit-based, and we'll talk about credit-based pricing models in a moment. And still, 1/5 of these companies, 20%, don't have pricing they say call sales. So, even in the agent economy or in the agent ecosystem, we are still seeing a lot of people that ask you to call sales. I think this is a big mistake, by the way. I think that the agent economy is going to push us towards much more pricing transparency. And it's going to do that because of the role that AI plays in the buying process. So I think people who are not publishing their pricing today are missing an opportunity and are making a big mistake and will be punished by the market over the next couple of years as AI comes to dominate the buying process.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think it's a little bit of just like to your point, right? Pricing is conservative and people are used to not wanting to share their pricing. That's why call sales is still the second highest. But I want to talk about, Steven, the one that is fastest growing, although it is the lowest here, which is 13% credit based. Can you say more on why you say it is the fastest growing and what are these kind of different billing patterns that you're seeing when it comes to credit based? Because it's only 13%, the per agent, per action, per user are still much larger.
yeah, with per user dominating.
Yeah,
So first of all, the reason I say that the credit-based pricing is growing quickly is because if we had gathered this data 6 months ago, I'm pretty sure that agent-based pricing would have been only 2 or 3%.
interesting. Okay.
So it's it may be the smallest of this particular way of characterizing pricing,
Mm,
but it's the fastest growing of them. And I'll go back and I'll parse the data and see if I can estimate growth rates for them. So why is agent-based pricing growing quickly? Well, I think that there are a number of reasons for this. One is it's been very successful.
sorry, did you mean agent based or credit based?
I'm sorry, credit-based. Yeah, sorry, credit-based pricing. Sorry, thank you, Arpurv. So one is where it's been implemented, it's been very successful.
Yeah.
So Box was very successful in implementing agent credit-based pricing. Snowflake has always had credit-based pricing. So there are now many highly successful examples that people can look to and say, oh, okay, this can work, is one reason. Another reason is that, as we said, there are people who are introducing lots of different agents. So let's just say you are a PriceFX user,
Hmm.
and we're showing 125 different agents. You don't know which of those agents you're going to use and how much you're going to use them.
Yeah.
So, and I suspect that PriceFX does not know either. Uh, I'll ask them that next time I get a chance, uh, which
So you're
probably won't.
saying I have these different agents and these which my users may want to use, and I just give them like credit. Like, are we talking of credits being like a virtual currency where they can come
Yeah,
in?
like a virtual currency. It's exactly like a virtual currency. Let's stay on the other slide for just a couple more minutes. So I think that's one reason, is that it allows for innovation. It
Hmm.
allows people not to be sure what the usage patterns are and to surface agents and see how they're used, to see how they're used in different use cases by different customers, different customer segments. It's just a much more flexible way of operating when there's a lot of uncertainty, when there's a lot of change, and when there's a lot of innovation going on, which describes the agent economy today. So it may be that credit-based systems will, continue to grow for another couple of years, and then they may fall back again as we understand this better. We understand how to package better. A lot of the early innovation and froth is taken out of the market.
Hmm.
So it may be that so I would predict. So we should write this down so we can check it in 3 years. I would predict that credit-based pricing will grow to 50% of pricing models for agents over the next 3 years. And then it will start to slide back down and probably stabilize in the 20 to 30% range with 5 years from now. So
Why is it going to come back down? Why will it slide down?
I think it'll slide down because people will have better understanding of the value of each agent, of the use packages, patterns for each agent, and rather than having open credit-based systems, they will have per action, per outcome, per role kinds of pricing. So, but predictions are difficult, especially about the future.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I think one problem to me personally, I feel like one problem that I see that with our customers is whenever you want to offer a credit-based pricing, you are in some way, shape, or form, your customers don't have predictability on their spends. And when they're making a purchase, they're often, or they're using the product, they're often unsure what the eventual cost outlay will be, which is why that's my hypothesis on why it may go up until it starts to slide down, because when people figure out what the actual cost pattern, the usage and the cost patterns are, you will then try and give a little more predictability to your end customer to avoid a sticker shock, and prevent them from not use enable them to use the product without worrying about, hey, how much is going to cost. Because I've seen that quite a bit, with our customers.
yeah, I agree that predictability is incredibly important.
Mm.
But there's another possibility here, Approve, that we may want to think about. Um, Prediction engines are also getting much better.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, the ability to predict future usage
Yeah.
is improving rapidly. So it may be that the vendors of agent and agent systems and agent orchestration
Mhm.
within 2 or 3 years will have very, very good prediction engines. And I would suggest that everyone on this call should make sure that they have a prediction engine, that they can predict use, they predict revenue, they predict churn. You should have um, a, a piece of software that is predicting all of those things. It may do a bad job today, but if you don't build one today, it's never going to get better. And the people that are able to do the best job at prediction, that's going to be one of the criteria for winning in the market. So one thing you should do today, no matter what billing system you're using, no matter what approach you're taking to pricing, is have a prediction engine and
Super.
build that prediction engine into your core way of thinking.
Fair enough. I want to encourage the audience to please post their questions in chat. We have about 20 odd minutes to go, so I'll keep taking questions and letting them in as I see them come in. I see one from Gary Steven that I want to take up right now. He says that he disagrees that credits will be the way forward. He thinks credits are causing friction, and it tasks, uncompleted um tasks that will just have additional credits unutilized. So that's like a lot of friction. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that comes to one of the two big questions when you're designing a credit system, which is pooling and rollover, and also refunds or credits for unused credits that you've purchased. So if you're in a if you have an application where you have a small number of agents, they are well aligned with your current packaging, you understand the value that they create, then you probably do not need to use a credit pricing system. But I would suggest that that is a minority of the companies that are introducing agents.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that describes your situation, that the agents are well aligned with your current packaging, that you understand how much value each agent creates, and you understand how the agents map to use cases, and someone may say, well, that's a core part of what a product designer and a product manager does. Fair enough. But I don't think that's the case for many of the companies that I look at. Many of the companies are, to put it crudely, throwing stuff at the wall to see what will stick. And when you're taking that approach, and anyone who has more than sort of 5, 7 agents, I suspect that that's the case, that you're innovating rapidly, which is good, and in exploration mode, but you don't really know what the adoption is going to be. And when you don't really know what the adoption is going to be, then a credit, and you want to put lots of agents out there, then a credit system is a much better way to do it than to try to fix it in.
Steven, should we talk about, you mentioned different types of agents a couple of times. Should we talk about agent families and how that kind of flows into this? Because I'm guessing you're
Yeah,
alluding to, different
sure.
types of agent.
Yeah, let's quickly look at the preceding slide. So this is a conflict of interest statement. This is a company that I am deeply involved in, and that is actually part of Ibbaka today, so valueIQ. And valueIQ is built around a central agent that generates value models. And a value model is a system of equations that estimates the value that a solution provides for a specific customer for a specific use case. And people used to pay people like Simon Kucher Partners and McKinsey and Deloitte, anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 or $300,000 to build a value model. It is now possible to build a value model using AI that is better than what 99% of trained MBAs, experts at these consulting companies, can do. So, and this is going to cause a revolution in how we think about pricing and value. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit on my soapbox here. But anyway, so suffice to say that that valueIQ has a family of agents that we have packaged into a set of agents for sales, a set of agents for pricing deals, a set of agents for pricing analysis, and a set of agents for pricing design. Only a few of the top level agents are actually shown here. There's agents underneath each of these, so it's a family of agents. But these are basically the agents that are being taken to market. And they're packaged into sales, deals, pricing analysis, and pricing design. And they're priced, if you want to go on to the next slide, using credits. So these are actions that you can take using all of these different agents that consume credits. Now, the most valuable of these is the actual value model generation. So that costs 500 credits. The packaging and pricing design are also the next most valuable, and they cost 300 credits each. And then there are smaller actions. So the analysis agent one use of the analysis agent only costs 10 credits. The deal agent costs 40 credits. The deal pricing agent costs 40 credits. So we put a lot of work. There's a lot of math behind how this was designed. And we took into account, the primary thing we took into account is we have a value model for all of these credits. And this maps pretty closely to the value that each of these actions contributes to a buyer. Now, and I see Owen has a great question. Are credits use or lose? So this is the rollover. Well, there's actually two components to that question, really. So just talking about the design of credit pricing systems, and I'll go a bit faster, Apurva. I know I'm talking a bit too much. What actions lead to concrete value? These are what consumes credits. What is the cost of those actions? How many tokens are being consumed? Because a lot of the cost here is token consumption. And each credit needs to have roughly equal value and cost. So this is the design challenge. You've got a multi-dimension solution that you're trying to solve for. And answering these questions will let you know what should the price of each credit be, how do prices get bundled into packages, can credits be shared between users? So is credit pooling allowed? And do credits roll over? So these are the critical things you need to take into account when you're designing a credit pricing system.
Fair enough. And as we do that, how are we, depending on our, specific agent strategy and how kind of they drive value, what, for the pricing folks in here, what should they really be doing going forward?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing one needs to do is to have a clear agent strategy. So you should not just be throwing stuff at the wall.
Mhm.
And we found that the best way to clarify any strategy is to use Roger Martin's strategic choice cascade. So I don't know that we put any links into the resources for this approved, but we should probably
We
add
can,
some.
yeah, we can send them offline.
Yeah. And then you need to map actions either by an agent or on an agent to value and cost. And this is the really hard part of the work, is understanding how much value is associated with each action and how much does each action cost. And as far as I can tell, having looked at lots of different credit-based pricing models over the last 6 to 9 months, most of these credit models are actually cost-based today. So one of the experts in the pricing world is a guy called Mark Stiving, and he says, credit-based pricing is just a fancy word for cost-based pricing.
Mhm.
I don't think that has to be true. I think it is often true, but I don't think it has to be true. Then you need to bundle your credits into packages and set rules on pooling, credit transfer between users, and rollover. So if you don't use your credits in a certain time period, what happens to them? I will say, and I think that the Zenskar team and Approve will confirm this, credits have to expire at some point. They cannot be available on the forever plan because if they are, it will completely blow up your revenue recognition and cause you untold problems down the road. So there has to be some way that unused credits disappear at some point in time. And if you don't do
That's
that,
exactly
you're
a
gonna,
question that's been just posted. I'm going to read it out. It says credit pricing systems are actually an accounting headache for public companies because you get the cash up front, but you can't recognize it until the customer actually draws down their credits. And to your point, if it never expires and it's never utilized, it's just like unused, it becomes a accounting headache, a revenue forecasting headache.
yeah,
Having said that, I have seen a lot of our customers have pricing models where credits don't expire because they're not fully, at least when they set the pricing model, they're not fully taking into account the accounting headaches that come downstream because people setting the pricing are not the people accounting for revenue or forecasting revenue. Uh, and you want to keep your customers happy and you want to say, hey, take these credits, these never expire. It's only when friction comes in from the accounting team later saying that, hey, this is causing an accounting headache, that the feedback goes back and you will try and put some expiry to it. It may be, a couple of years, maybe slightly longer. But if it's like forever, never expiring, it is a massive headache for the accounting team.
yeah. I think headache is too light a word.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Uh,
it can be a business-ending problem.
yep, absolutely. I guess on that note, Stephen, we should talk a little bit about, of course, we've spoken about pricing, but this causes a lot of downstream implications. on how to manage the entire order to cash workflow. The billing for these credits, the recognition of revenue, the credit management, integrating with your users' data. Of course, I can go on and talk about this for the rest of my life, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts on this.
No, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Approve, because this is really where Zenskar and your team shine. Um,
Yeah,
th-
no,
there-
happy to share. I mean, for all the finance and product people in the room, what Steven spoke about was how do you kind of uh, price your agents and the credit-based system, but the processes or the systems that you have in place to manage per user pricing are very different from what you need to handle credit-based pricing. First of all, credits directly imply usage-based pricing. And if you have multiple agents and they have different levers of usage and they all tie into one form of credits, the pooling and what we call it entitlement management, wherein you assign the credits, but then tracking, hey, which credit wallet or credit balance are they being drawn down from? It requires a robust usage tracking and usage management system, which is where you need an order to cash system that handles usage as a first class citizen. It cannot be thought of as an afterthought. It needs to be built in as a first class system in the platform. The system actually needs to talk to your data warehouse or database where the usage data is stored. If it does not have access to the usage data, you will not be the recognition of revenue and the billing will become fairly manual, which is not what you can do at scale, especially if you're a public company. And then you want this data to be able to fed back into the ERP. You want your revenue rules to be able to recognize usage as a first class citizen, as opposed to only being able to recognize, over a fixed period of time, straight line distribution method. So it causes a lot of downstream implications. By the way, just the sheer fact that these different types of pricing models, whether it is bundling or rollovers or pooling or discounts or expiry, just encoding all of these into an order to cash system is a massive headache in itself. So you need a system that can be flexible enough to ingest and absorb these different pricing models. That, by the way, is where Zenskar's agents also help. So I'll do a quick poll here for those of you interested in seeing how Zenskar's AI agents can streamline the order to cash cycle for your organization. Please, drop a note here, and if you're interested, we'll definitely, come back and share a demo. But I'd love to get into Q&A from the audience. But at this point, I will maybe just take a minute or so to actually talk about the product and show how it helps. Please continue posting your questions in the chat while I do that. So I'll just take a minute. This is the Zenskar platform, which is an order to cash platform. It manages billing, recognition of revenue, SaaS metrics reporting. And if you have sales contracts that your sales team is going and signing with your customers, you can actually come in and upload them into Zenskar. Zenskar's AI agents actually read these contracts and all these pricing models that you may want to offer, whether it's usage based or subscription based. The AI parses them from the contract in real time, and the flex system is flexible enough to encode different pricing models. So, per unit pricing, percentage based pricing, tiered pricing. To Steven's point, credits are what we handle using a system called, grants. So you can grant credits. You can set them to never expire, but you don't want them to never expire. You do want them to expire at some point. Of course, discounts, tax. There is a full-blown entitlement or credit management system, that can come in and help you manage these credit wallets. Of course, if you're interested in a deeper demo, happy to kind of show that to you. But that's a quick sneak peek into Zenskar's kind of AI native platform provides, order to cash for the new agent economy. I know we have only 5 odd minutes to go, Stephen. I'll have to, take a few questions from the audience. Let's see how many we can get into. I see one that says, how can we ensure that users clearly understand how credits are consumed? How should the consumption of each credit be measured? Example, time used, amount of processing, number of responses. I can actually answer that because I see that from a lot of our users. To enable your users to understand how clearly the credits are consumed, you need a system that can give your users the ability to log into the platform. The system needs to be able to talk to your users data warehouse to be able to, fetch real-time consumption information. And you need a customer facing portal where customers can actually log in, come in and see how the credits are consumed. And of course, building all of this for your engineering team becomes a massive headache. So you need a system, an order to cash system that can manage credits as a first class citizen. Stephen, I guess the next one I'll have you answer, which talks about, hey, can you talk about how increasing API costs will impact pricing decisions?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. And coincidentally, I just published a post on that on Monday on what I think is going to happen. So I actually made some predictions here. So I think that everyone knows that some enterprise applications are throttling access to their APIs in response to increased use
Yeah.
by AI-related agents. And Slack is the one that's gotten the most attention, but Reddit's done the same thing, and Salesforce has also done, Salesforce has done it beyond Slack. So I think two things are going to happen with API pricing. One, access to APIs and data pulled through APIs is going to become much more expensive. So we've been through a history where API integrations were first treated as a professional service.
Mhm.
Then they were treated as a high value added additional part of a subscription. Then they got buried into the subscription and they became almost free. And we are now seeing an inflection point in which APIs are going to become, and the data that flows through APIs are going to become much more valuable. And there's going to be a lot, the prices for API access are going to go up steeply. Another thing I think that's going to happen is that people who control large amounts of data, such as an ERP or a finance system or a CRM, are going to require the agent companies to pay them for API access.
Mhm.
Now, at the end of the day, the customer, of course, pays for everything, but there's actually going to be a financial transaction between the agent and the enterprise vendor that is independent of the financial transaction between the end customer and the agent, or the end customer and the enterprise agent. That's going to lead to a reaction, though, in which uh, agents will frequently access data from data lakes rather than from the applications directly. So there's going to be an end run around this API pricing. So there's probably enough to talk about here for a whole webinar, but that's the sort of quick view.
Awesome. I guess we're coming into time, so I'm gonna, stop now. And yeah, if people have more questions, of course, feel free to email us and the Ibbaka team, and happy to kind of answer them offline. We will be sharing the recording, offline for you to have access to it. And yeah, thank you all of you for your time here. Hope you found it useful. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing all of your study and your research, and looking forward to hosting you on more of these in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. And, Zenskar is doing a great job of enabling this future agent economy that we are moving into.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Stephen. Have a good one.
Thank you.